What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. This will probably be my last video for tonight. You might remember a couple weeks ago I did a video saying I finally accepted the fact that Stephen Curry is the greatest three-point shooter I've ever seen. I didn't want to give him that title yet. Well, actually, the greatest shooter I've ever seen, excuse me. I didn't want to give him quite that title yet. I already had seeded that he was the greatest three-point shooter I've ever seen. But I didn't want to call him the greatest shooter because there's other people historically that I think are in the conversation. I think of people like Larry Bird. I think of people like Chris Mullin, maybe Peja Stojakovic, maybe Glenn Rice, Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, Allen Houston. Not that any of these individuals are, bar none, the greatest shooter, but they're in the conversation. You know what I mean? Drazen Petrovic. And there's some others, of course. But Curry has done enough, in my opinion, when you look at his longevity, his accomplishments, and when you combine the degree of difficulty in shots that he makes, as well as the volume of three-pointers that he takes, all right, and his uniquely high percentage. He does not own the highest percentage in history. That goes to Steve Kerr. And I think just in front of him is Hubert Davis. But when you look at these guys, they were spot-up three-point shooters. And they didn't shoot nearly as many three-pointers as this guy does. So when you take into account his percentage, which is approaching 44%, which is fucking unbelievable when you consider how high. Like, I don't think a lot of people get it. Like, when I say, he's on another level, and I say, look, he shoots nearly 44% from beyond the arc. And James Harden, he shoots about 37%, which is respectable, which is pretty good. All right? But the difference between 37% and 44% is to me, it's the difference between a guy averaging 25 points per game and another guy averaging 40 points per game. Or a guy who's averaging 8 rebounds per game that's a power forward, and another guy averaging 14 rebounds per game as a power forward, or 15. If that makes any sense to you. Like, 37% is the league average, or a little bit above the league average. Curry's shooting a percentage that is on a historic stratosphere when you consider the volume that it takes. And I'm going to put this other number out there to you. Ray Allen, for his career, is 40% from the three-point line, all right? Reggie Miller was 39.5%. What makes Ray Allen's what made Ray Allen surpassing Reggie Miller, more acceptable, as the greatest three-point shooter at the time, is because he did it in fewer games and he did it in fewer attempts. But what Curry's doing is on another level. To put it in perspective, if you take the number of attempts that Ray Allen has in his career from the three-point line, and you take his made three-pointers, all right, if you take the difference between both for Curry and Ray, right, Curry could shoot, starting the next game, right, Curry could shoot less than 30% from beyond the three-point line for the next 2 seasons. I mean, have absolute historic struggles from shooting the three, and his career three-point percentage would still be higher than Ray Allen's. That's how great a shooter he is. And if you take this postseason coming up, he's going to overtake Ray Allen in three-pointers made very, very quickly. He's only 7 3-point baskets away from tying Ray Allen for the playoff record. As we all know, he could do that in one game. I think he's at 378 career three-pointers made. And I think Ray Allen's at 385. Ray Allen is a 40.1% career three-point shooter in the playoffs. Stephen Curry is a 40.8% career three-point shooter in the playoffs. So possibly in the first game, definitely in the first two games, he's going to surpass Ray Allen as the greatest playoff three-point shooter in the history of the league. Now, and he's going to pad that lead to a point where it probably will never be broken. Now, regular season. He sits right now at 2,380 three-pointers made, right? Reggie Miller's at 2,560. Ray Allen is the number one guy at 2,973. I really was hoping that Ray Allen would come back and pad his lead, man, and get it to over 3,000. It just looks phenomenal for a guy to have 3,000 made three-pointers, but I guess Ray Allen truly is finished. You know, he has no interest in coming back and playing. If you take his career clip, I think Curry's career clip in three-pointers per game is 3.5, right? He would pass Ray Allen in 170 games, all right? Which would be a little bit more than 2 more seasons. But that's misleading because the first couple of years in Stephen Curry's career, he was playing second fiddle to Monta Ellis. And, of course, the league still wasn't, on average, the guys were still not taking a three-point shot to the extent they take it now. I think he was taking maybe 3 to 4 three-point attempts per game, all right? I don't think it was until 2012, 2013 that he started really taking that three-point shot and just using it as a weapon. If you take his three-pointers made average this season, which is 5.2, then that would have him, I think, passing Ray Allen in a little bit more than a season. I think a season and a half. Or sometime during the 2020-2021 season. Which isn't that long from now. And he would still be in the prime of his career. I think he'd be in his early 30s. All right, like 31 or 32 years old or something like that, all right? He's going to pass Reggie Miller very soon. He's only 180 three-pointers behind Reggie Miller. If you take his seasonal average right now, 5.2 three-pointers made per game, then he's going to pass Reggie Miller in 35 games, which would be very early in the 2019-20 NBA season. I don't think he's going to pass him this year. I mean, he would have to go on a unbelievable three-point tear to pass him this season. I think it's going to be early next season, maybe within the first 10 games or so, the 2019-20 season. But Steph Curry is going to really be overtaking the record books when it comes to three-point shooting. And That's pretty much it, man. That's all I got to pretty much say, man. Tell me what you guys think, man. Do you think that Curry is the greatest three-point shooter you've ever seen, the greatest shooter? Um, I finally have submitted to that, to both, I think, in my opinion. But if you don't think it's him, who are some other guys that who do you think is the greatest three-point shooter?